someone online said stuff. Okay, it's recording. Sorry, this is my first time doing this without Brian, so thankful to our IT department. Setting this up for us today. Okay, core value. We'll start out with this. Faithful to the idea of restoration is the heart behind all we do. Today, I'm actually going to be talking about wholesaling, which is actually how, if you don't know the whole story of 600 Homes, how Jamie and I got this whole thing started. It was just, we were literally buying and selling real estate without our license as investors. Had a lot to do with wholesaling and working with wholesaling. But while we were doing that, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, wholesalers, that whole industry in real estate is pretty grimy, pretty sleazy. It takes advantage of people and take advantage of homes, take advantage of people, take advantage of the situation. I was like, this is like, I want to slap half the people. Like, I almost literally got into a fist fight with one investor. I challenged him to a fight. He's a really, really rich investor here in Fort Worth. It's ruined my relationship with him since. But he was trying to take advantage of this lady. She owed she owed $120,000 on a home, and she wanted to get 180 so she could move back home with her family in Mexico. And that was going to be her retirement plan. $60,000 was what she needed to get a home where she's from, and stay there and retire there. And so in 180, the home was it was a quadplex. It was worth $220,000, or about 200. You know, you can pay 200 and still get a good deal. So she was like, I just want to do 180 because she wants to move quick. And so I go and meet her there, and she's like, yeah, I was trying to sell for 180, but this investor guy comes back and he's like, I'll do it. You know, I can't do it for this. I'll offer you 100. And just beat her down, beat her down, beat her down, beat her down, beat her down. And then got under contract for 125, something like that. And I'm like, so I call him and I'm like, hey, would you be willing to just sell me this one at the 180? And that's a good deal for me. It's $20,000 better. It's a good deal for her. That's what she wants. And I'll just give her the money. And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, I can turn around and sell this thing for 200, maybe 220, 240 if I fix it up and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I know, but like, you have so much margin in there. You beat her down. You're still getting a really good profit, and we can help this lady out. And he's like, do you know how investing works? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I was like, but there's also a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And anyways, you know, you can see how this turned out. And I just got so pissed off. I was like, where are you at? Like, I'm just gonna come beat your ass.
Did you?
Sorry, guys. You can little taste of Jimmy as an owner. And so, anyways, I was like, man, dude, this is so grimy. You can still, like, I would have offered her 180. It was maybe more, and that would have been a $20,000. Like, that would have been a good deal for me, but it also would have been a good deal for her. And to me, that was a fair win-win, without screwing, I think, uneducated, maybe not impoverished because she had a lot of real estate, but so that could help her out. It's just a win-win and the right thing to do all the way around. And there was no heart in that transaction. And so hence this idea of restoration. There's never a property, never a person, never a real estate deal that can't be born again, so to speak, you know, to use spiritual terms, or to be reconciled, to be restored in some sort of way. And so a relationship that's broken that you had for a long time, it can be restored. It just takes a lot of work. It might be grimy. The other person might not want to, but it could be restored, at least on your end. This house, literally the wall, and you could shove it and the wall would like swing because it was hung on by like 3 rafters, and it's restored into a beautiful office that now is like, you know, has good energy, according to has good energy, positive, does a lot of good things for the community. And so that's the core value for today. Okay, a few announcements. I thought you guys would like that story. Lindsay was my wholesale. Yeah, if I told you guys the name, you'd be like, oh my gosh. I didn't know who he was, so I didn't care. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, showing services status. You can pay for a check, money order, cashier's check. We also have the Venmo, and did y'all see that on
Yes, it was on Slack.
Slack? Yeah. Did everybody see that on Slack, Venmo, and?
I missed it, but
Oh.
It was the end of last week.
Is that something we can go in backside, maybe like a 1 page or something, maybe?
Yeah, well,
I have a feeling it, I mean, I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe it might be referenced pretty often.
add the backside.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I got a hard no the other day from buyers. I'm like, shows are like, what?
Why don't you?
Why?
think you should?
They're like, why are we doing this?
It's on the Venmo, PayPal is on a page inside the back site.
There we go. See,
it's already
Brian's
done.
already,
Good job.
already, you know, we do things fast around here.
So I think the other question I have in Slack, I don't know if I got answered, like get lost in Slack. So we, if you have a buyer that says, yep, I'll pay you $250 to show me 5 houses, whatever. They pay Venmo, goes in here. How do we alert accounting who that person is? Is there a CDA? What do you want? from
No,
us?
we'll get that Venmo and we'll know it. We'll have it exactly where it's at, or Rachel will see that and just cut you the check.
How will
like
she know
that.
it's me?
Huh?
They, on the Venmo, they can do a memo.
Oh, they can do a
Yeah.
memo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think.
You're required to do a note for any of those.
Okay.
So for Zelle and for Venmo, you have to put a note.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
So
it
we
has
just
to
tell them
be,
put like Patty Smith,
exactly.
agent or
Yeah.
whatever. Okay.
Or
It-
Clarissa Bush.
You can't.
Okay. Or you.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm gonna negotiate Clarissa's
That's the
time.
deal. Yeah, so yeah, you have to put a note, you're required to, before
Okay.
you can pay and make any payment, so, obviously, that's how you do it, and if you don't, then it'll just take like an extra week to get that check of $50. Okay, part-time agents can now get, their required forms on the backside, if you need those. No one, I don't think anybody here is part-time, but, new listing and buyer presentations, fully customizable in Canva. You guys, we released those out quite a bit. If you have any questions on the buyer and listing packet, just come and talk to me. I'll work you through each one of them. Victoria is in Hawaii from August 14th to August 23rd. So she has taken a vacation. So she's 5 hours behind our time. So if for whatever reason, just remember that. We'll remind you here in the next few weeks.
What
but,
was the dates on that?
August 14th to the 23rd.
What do you mean, like 5 hours? She's on vacation. She's
Well,
working.
Yeah, I mean, yes, she is. And you guys are working, so she's working. She's got to do the CDAs and get them out. So even more important to get that 7 days in ahead of time before closing, just to kind of remind her there so you can honor her well.
Yeah.
And then just a last note, Phil, he's at home. I'm sure a lot of you guys follow him now, did a post, and so he's at home working through some rehab stuff. And so Still Heart is doing well. So thank you guys for your prayers for him. That's been just a huge win for everybody, including his family. I got to hang out with his son this weekend. We took a bunch of boys to, fishing and float the river and stuff like that this past weekend, and he was in good spirits and stuff like that. So all just really good news for him and their family. So, okay,
Jim,
next.
I have one more announcement. Sorry, I just found this. Tarrant County has now changed how often they are going to appraise houses. It's every 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
And only a 5%.
Yes.
What do you,
they
5?
capped it. Yeah, 5,000.
It's a 5%,
Yeah.
cap it a 5% increase.
I'll put the link to the story from Star Telegram in Slack later today.
There's a paywall though, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Just so you know, always fight your taxes, because that 5%, they'll just increase it, even if your house doesn't mean increase. So just always fight it. Okay. All right, you guys, y'all want to come chat for a little bit? So we'll have you guys come chat, and then I'll do wholesale after this.
Appreciate it.
Very good. Good morning.
Boom filled up.
Yeah. So we're Kirsti and Tom Healy with Fidelity National Home Warranty. Been in the business forever. We will be married 30 years in December. Been a team for about 2, and we'll see if we make it to December. Different. I used to sell real estate back when it was 17% interest rate. And back in those times, we didn't have warranties. Okay, what we had was commissionectomies. So if something closed and it was like even 2 months past the close, they would, if something failed, they expect the agents to split it and pay for it. So we bought lots of water heaters, we bought lots of HVACs, and I've heard several agents say that's starting again. So
What?
warranties are important. They really, really cut down on your risk reduction, and it does help the buyer and the seller, but it was really created for you guys. That's why they came about.
You know that.
And you want me to jump in now?
No, that's fine.
Always an undercurrent.
That's right. You should know this by now.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
2 years.
Well, she's been active in real estate on the warranty side for 15. I've actually been in it for 27 years. So between the two of us, we've seen a few cycles, rhythmic cycles of the economy and the effects. So we had in Texas 3 or 4 years where warranties weren't at the foremost of negotiations because you wanted the offer to get every year. But on the insurance side of the business, in Texas, historically, 2 or 3% lawsuits against brokers and agents in Texas, because everything usually got talked out and resolved and, amicably. But 3 years ago, the lawsuits in Texas went up to 16%. 2 years ago, they went to 22%. We're still waiting for the final numbers. It could be around 26, 27%. So as you're dealing with
Of
people,
what? Percent of what?
Lawsuits.
against their
All
agents and
lawsuits,
brokers
26% of them were against agents.
increase over prior year.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's a situation where you really want to take into consideration that you're dealing with consumers coming here from different areas of the country. I phrase that correctly. Okay. And they bring with them a different mental attitude, a different approach, and they're very inclined to bring about a lawsuit if they feel that things didn't work the way they could have. So that's why the home warranty originally came into the industry, was to protect, not only and offset and reduce the cost of doing a repair or replacement of equipment in the house. It's really designed to kind of short circuit any threat of a lawsuit, so you don't end up going into a court situation. So, but the warranty product itself has changed dramatically. When I got in the industry, $270 for a warranty with a $25 trade call fee. Then it went to $350 and then $379 in the average pricing. Now on Dallas side of the Metroplex, $1,400 for a warranty, $100, $125 for a trade call fee is pretty much the norm. On the Tarrant County side of the Metroplex, and we cover a pretty large swath of Texas. We go up to Midland, Odessa, up to Wichita Falls, down to Killeen, Temple, Belton, that area. The average warranty might be $700, $800, $900 because people are constructing the coverage based on what they perceive they need for the individual property. So, for example, you can get a basic warranty for $510, but if the house has a swimming pool, definitely add that option. Some houses that you deal with, they're going to have a septic system or a well. That's the type of ancillary equipment. You definitely want to make sure that the warranty has the options added so that it's a lot more inclusive as far as what it covers. But by the same token, you'll have homeowners that are possibly bringing 2 or 3 refrigerators with them, or the house itself might have a second or third refrigerator, might have a built-in wine cooler. I mean, we're seeing all kinds of add-ons nowadays. So the warranty product itself has added about 20 options to the package. So what we suggest is put out through the list of options, talk it over with the home buyer, and you'd be surprised. Some of the options are extremely beneficial. I'll address one of them. It's the very bottom item on the back page. Is the manufacturer's warranty option. So like this house was probably built in the 1920s or the 1930s. It's been rehabbed and so forth. A lot of houses that were built in the 60s or the 70s, they've already gone through a rehab scenario. And you might be showing a property that, the bones to the house were, 50, 60 years old. But a lot of the appliances are maybe only 2 or 3 years old. And that's a selling feature. Yeah, the house has been remodeled and a lot of the upgrades are now in the form of the appliances. The negative side of that is that a lot of those relatively new appliances still have a manufacturer's warranty in play. And it's very common to have a situation where a person buys the house, they're in the house for 2 or 3 months, and then something goes wrong with the dishwasher or the oven, whatever the case may be. And they call us, and we send out a contractor, and the contractor says, yes, this appliance has malfunctioned. However, it's only 2 years old and it's under a manufacturer's warranty. With most warranty companies, their hands are off the situation now because now the homeowner has to deal directly with the manufacturer. And if the house went through a resale situation, sadly, a lot of the manufacturers won't honor their warranty because it's not with the original person that acquired that equipment. So by adding our option for $10, we as an insurance company are now negotiating directly with that manufacturer. And we're saying, yeah, the house has our warranty and we have coverage on it. So we ensure that the equipment, first of all, is shipped to the homeowner, but then we'll cover the cost of the installation. And then we'll cover the cost of disposing of whatever equipment comes out of the house. So it's really a no-brainer. It's a $10 option, but you really should add that into the mix when you're constructing the coverage for the property.
Yes, now you cannot get that on the base plan. You have to get it on something above the base plan. Okay. A couple other things that make Fidelity different is, do y'all work with a lot of high-end properties? Higher end?
Okay.
We cover up to $5,000 per appliance. So dishwasher, oven, stovetop, fridge, $5,000. That is the highest in the industry, because that's even for our basic plan. And it's important because nowadays, especially after COVID and other things, appliances are a lot more expensive than they used to be. A lot more expensive. There's a company out there that you can choose your own contractor, but they only pay $400 for the dishwasher. So that's not going to cover a whole lot. It probably won't even cover a full repair, let alone buying a new dishwasher. So that's important. We also cover all Freon, no dollar limits or poundage limits.
What about
and-
type of Freon? Just like if it's the old Freon, we don't, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, we don't charge for that at all. And it's going for well over $100 a pound. In the outlying areas, it could be $150.
For an HVAC service call, how soon do you guys typically get somebody out there? Do you guys have, is there?
So a lot of times it depends on where the property is. Okay, if it's out, way far out,
Like Dallas, Metroplex?
Dallas,
or
we're not going to have any
Mansfield,
problem. We
or-
have plenty of contractors in the Dallas area. It's usually if you're working out, like, I don't know if you know where Brownwood is, but Brownwood has no contractors. They don't need to because they know they're going to get the business whether they work with a warranty company or not. In Dallas, Fort Worth area, we don't have that issue. So
So do you
usually,
have like a certain amount of time that you guys, within 24 hours, like
well, you'll
response
get a,
time?
they'll get a call back within usually 4 hours. And that's usually us having, we'll say, well, we contacted the contractor. And then what we do is I usually recommend that your homeowner go ahead and call that contractor instead of waiting for the contractor to call, because I think it goes a little bit faster. But yeah, usually within 1 to 3 days, we're out there.
1 to 3 days?
Yeah.
So what if somebody can't get out there within 1 to 3 days? What if somebody has to use a different contracting company, like a different HVAC or a different whatever?
That depends on the circumstances. If it's 110 outside and we can't get a contractor, then we're going to allow them to use their own contractor and we'll reimburse them. Okay. And that happens, again, it's more in the little teeny towns, but let's face it, when it's 110 in Texas, it's good luck with anybody finding a contractor. Even if you're going to get your own, sometimes it's still hard. But we do have plenty in our system for the DFW area. Also, we cover duplicate equipment. If there's more than one HVAC, more than one water heater, more than one dishwasher, they're all covered. Because a lot of companies will charge you extra for that.
You have a situation in Texas where for the last 3 years, the topic of a warranty was not part of the negotiations, and Fidelity adapted to that. So if you have a situation where you have a home buyer, they want the warranty, but it's not a part of the verbiage of the contract, we suggest you order the warranty within 30 days after closing. That way, William will backdate it to the date of escrow, and there won't be any waiting period before the coverage commences. It'll start right away. Okay. If the homeowner decides that they want a warranty and it's been maybe a month or 2 months, then there is going to be a 30-day waiting period before the coverage actually begins. Okay. But if they use your name when they order the warranty, or if you order on their behalf, they will get what we call the resale price, which is what they would have paid had it been a part of the contract. Because you will find people that say, well, we'll wait on it. We got enough going on in our heads, and they wait on it and it gets overlooked. And then 6 weeks after closing, you get the phone call and they go, hey, weren't we supposed to have a warranty? Well, you said you wanted to wait on it, but we can't order it now. But there will be a 30-day holding period before the coverage actually begins. So it's all a matter of awareness and making them aware of there's certain timelines that have to be adhered to.
The other issue, the other thing that we do cover is we don't have any limit for the buyer for the HVAC or the water heater, even if it's tankless. So a couple of years ago, we paid $11,900 on an HVAC because the guy had a 21 SEER. We have to either match the SEER that he has or the SEER that the government has. Since his was higher, we had to cover that. So that was almost $12,000 that we paid.
And when the homeowner calls in, and this came about years ago because homeowners would call in and request service, and then both spouses would go to work, and neither one of them addressed the time that somebody needs to be there to meet the contractor when they show up. So the value of the trade call fee, that is to ensure that both parties are present. I mean, contractors were complaining all across the nation with every warranty company. They were complaining, yeah, I drove half an hour to get here. I've waited 45 minutes. There's a no-show. So the contractor said, you need to make sure that the homeowner, somebody's there to let us in and so we can evaluate the equipment. So the cost of the trade call fee has gone up over the years, but we have a couple of trade call fee certificates. Each one of these is worth $85. So if you're ordering a warranty and you include the Fidelity product, first come, first serve. So I'll leave these here.
Well, she gets one because she asked a question.
Oh.
Did anybody else ask a question? Or was it, sorry.
So when we make a referral, do we refer them to you or so that you?
Or you can, as far as an order
Yeah.
for the warranty, in this general area, the majority of the title companies years ago started ordering the warranties as a courtesy before the agent. Okay, so they, the escrow officer would ask you, so have you got a warranty? Yeah, we're going to go with Fidelity. Okay, they would order it on your behalf. The problem with that is they don't know what level of coverage. They don't know which options might be appropriate. And in a lot of areas of the state, the title companies adamantly refuse to order the warranty because it's an agency function. In other words, they're saying it's your legal responsibility under the licensing as an agent. You're supposed to do this aspect of the work.
I don't think I've ever had that happen.
Oh, it does.
Oh, yeah, there's areas
We have
where,
title companies that.
Oh, in different,
Yeah.
your
yeah,
remote
yeah,
areas.
it varies
Absolutely.
geographically. There was one that tried to do that in Weatherford a few years ago when they went belly up because they weren't being as assisting as possible based on the atmosphere. One way to put it. But that was a good question. So you get a coffee.
Okay, so we have to close. So one thing I do want to make sure that you understand is one of the models we switched to a few years ago made all the difference in the world. How many of you know your buyer cannot stand having to call corporate and then call back and tell their story again, and then call back and find out what's going on and tell their story again?
That's gonna be my question.
It's highly, highly irritating. So what we do is we have Sarah. She works only for us. She's a claims specialist. And if you guys call us and say, I've got an issue, we escalate it to Sarah. And then Sarah handles that from that point to the end of the claim. She calls the purchasing, she calls author, she calls the contractor, she calls the buyer, and she calls you. Okay?
That is great, because that was
It's
what was
huge.
sitting within me. I can't tell you how many warranties I've sold.
Trust me, it
They
is
are
great.
not happy with the contractor. They want a different contractor. They don't like what they're getting told or the time frame or the da-da-da-da.
Yep.
And to the company that I have been referring, I could just call the regional director and she would handle it all. So I was wondering if you guys do the same.
Well, we're your regional director.
Okay.
So you just call us, we immediately send it to Sarah, and then Sarah takes it from then on, because she's the one that can call purchasing and also because that's not us. But it's amazing and people love her. She just has a gift to be able to talk to buyers, and agents and de-escalate the situation and make everybody happy.
And you'll find that on every brochure, we put our business contact information. So if the homeowner wants to call or the home buyer wants to call and ask us questions, we'll walk them through the process. If either the home buyer or you as an agent wants us to order a warranty, just send us the information. If you send it by email, when we respond to you, there's a template underneath our contact information. Just fill in the appropriate questions. We'll order the warranty for you. It makes it a lot simpler. And just like when the homeowner and as an agent, you didn't want to talk to 8 or 9 people at work. Neither do we. I mean, before COVID, most of our work traditionally was done with phone call, occasionally with email. When COVID hit across the nation and everybody went virtual, it got to the point very quickly where agents didn't want to talk. And then they got to the point where they didn't want to email. Most of how we communicate now is by text. And copy and paste and just send the information out to somebody else. So it's a very easy way to order a warranty, or if you want us to reach out to the home buyer and be of assistance to them, because we want to make sure that they feel comfortable knowing who they can contact. Because if you're away in Europe on vacation, they have our contact information. They call us, we'll walk the claim right through from start to finish.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I would say one thing. I've met Kirsti probably 6, 7 years ago. I've used y'all multiple times, but I did have one that house had been vacant, investor renovated, septic system, it had some grime in the bottom. My clients moved in, next thing you know, the thing's not working. There's some solid waste that's not getting through tubes. The whole thing shut down, plumbing backed up. I called up Kirsti. Kirsti got her people out there, got it taken care of. And it was not like a big wait on 1-800 number forever.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So
Appreciate that very
that was
much.
nice kudo.
We should have saved prizes for you.
You get your pick at which block of door hangers you want. in case you-
I'll double it for the next person.
Oh,
We'll
leave
leave
these
these here.
here
We've
for
got to
you.
go because he's ready.
Yeah, okay.
Gotta
Gotta ask for the business. Gotta ask for the business. Okay. Hopefully we've earned your trust from sharing with you where we're coming from. And we would be remiss if we didn't give you an example of how you ask for the business. So going forward, we would love that you would consider directing your home buyers towards us. But by the same token, you might have family or neighbors that need a home warranty. We can give them the resale price if they come through you as an individual. Make sense? So if you live in an HOA, you should know all your neighbors and they should all have a warranty with us. So how's that for? Is that a good hook?
Good sales pitch.
We didn't have time for seller's coverage, so if you want to know about seller's coverage, feel free to call me. I'll give you the down low on how that works.
And that just triggered a memory on my part going out the door. We do have an option for new construction. So if you're working with a builder.
She's like, thank you very much, guys.
We appreciate it. If y'all want, anybody wants to make Chick-fil-A really fast?
Just a nugget.
Nugget, anybody really quick? We're taking, online people, we're doing a, 2-minute break.
Yeah.
And I don't.
It was a client, I never really read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Like, no backslash, great joke, uniform. Where are you looking, whatever?
I've sold the guy that was there. I've sold him like 4 or 5 houses. He was like one of my very first clients. Not yet. We didn't get that one.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get him in
I
a
was
new
like,
build.
what about
but-
this organization? We've never seen that.
No, this is like
Did you bring me a nugget? That's
all organized.
That's the guy's name. Doesn't allow.
Person. But the guy that's actually buying it's him. These guys, it's FaceTime.
Okay, what did you say about your shoes? Do you feel like you're going on vacation? No, I feel like I need to wear them. every
Oh, yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah. They were saying that since those two houses backed up to each other, like his house and the house they were going, they were like, we need to set a time. My house to your house. I'm like, do it, guys.
You away? Yeah. I read it all the way.
Here's something.
And black gun or just one gold? It's a little too early for that. Maybe another hour.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay, you guys. We'll get started today. Mastermind Wholesaling 101. Has anyone actually ever accepted a wholesale offer, like from a wholesaler?
Yes.
Like, yeah. How'd it go?
It was a bumpy road.
Yeah.
You kind of have that time period of, is it really going to come through or not?
Yeah.
But it ended up working out for my client.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, he was trying to sell his mom's rundown place
Yeah.
in Houston.
That's a good, yeah.
And it was going to be his down payment money because he was receiving
Yes, he didn't
it as,
care.
well, yeah, he didn't care, and she had passed away, and it was just a
Yeah.
house sitting out there in the trust.
That's a really good.
I
I
did it.
want to use that example here in a second.
I did it with a portfolio of duplexes.
Oh, okay.
And
So that's fine, yeah.
we accepted the offer for all three. And then the wholesalers like New Western, they could only sell one, so they backed out of 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
We went to him and was like, hey, I know it wasn't in the contract that it was all 3 or nothing, but we made it very clear verbally it was all 3 or nothing. He was like, fine. So he went and did something, got his client out of the contract,
Yeah.
backed out all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, just in case, for new agents and somebody who's never been in the industry long, wholesaling, just in general, is when Greg is a seller and I come to Greg and I say, hey, I want to buy your house. Greg says, yes, we get a contract signed. And then instead of me actually buying it, I actually sell it to somebody else. So that's in general wholesaling. So the buyer number one never actually buys a house. And so I wanted to talk about 3 different ways how wholesaling actually works and like what the wholesaler thinks and how they think, because you guys on the listing side of it, well, 1, if you want to invest, this is kind of cool to know. 2, if you have like investor clients, then it's good to know also. But really, most of the time, what you'll deal with this from a just normal agency is whenever you get offers from wholesalers, and they're really sneaky. So because you won't really necessarily see them coming all the time because they lie all the time. Okay, so just in general, so I want to do a couple things. Talk about three ways wholesaling works within the industry that's legal and what you guys can expect to see. So just want to talk about those. There's assignment, double close, and a subject to offer. So we'll talk about those 3 things and just how they work in general. And then we're going to talk about how to recognize like who a wholesaler is, because they're really sneaky. And then 3, when you actually could use them and when it could be beneficial, because it can be beneficial for several different reasons. And so they're not all bad, even though I would say 99% of the time it is. You don't want to accept it, but it's not always bad. They do have their place in real estate. Okay, so the first way wholesaling works is through an assignment. The way an assignment works is Greg, I'm just going to use you since you're sitting right here. Greg is the seller, and he goes under contract with me. I'm the buyer. I might approach Greg in a couple different ways, right? This is how you kind of recognize it. I might approach Greg as just, hey, I want to buy your house. I'm just a regular individual. I don't have an agent. That's one of the key. I don't have an agent. Like you probably going to be a wholesaler. They like really want you to know that, because normal people that want to buy a house, they don't think about it like that. Wholesalers do. So I don't have an agent, Greg. You don't have to pay anybody. I just want to buy your house for me. Okay. Or he might approach him and go, hey, I'm a wholesaler. I want to go sell your house. They might just be very upfront. But either way, they come to Greg and they say, hey, I want to buy your house, $200,000. And so we negotiate typically a longer option, whatever. We'll go over that in a second. But get it under contract, agree to all the terms, and then I'm like, all right, Jana, I got an awesome house for sale. I got it under contract for an undisclosed amount, and I want to sell it to you for 205, or it's usually about 207. They try to make about $7,000 on it. Greedy ones will be like 230. Yeah, yeah. But normal wholesalers, about 7,000 is a great sweet spot. That's what they're trying to make. Yeah, it's not much more than that. Because after fees and everything, they net like 5 to 7. It's like all the big wholesaling companies, that's their target, $7,000. But I got a house for sale. I'm going to sell you the contract. Here's the contract. And I give it to Jana. I show her this is the agreement between Greg and I. And it says 200, but I usually will cross it out. You're not allowed to do that. You're supposed to legally say what you bought it for, but they don't. And so I want to sell it to you for 207. Jen says, great, good. I'm going to write up assignment contract for $7,000 or whatever it is. And we're going to sign an agreement, an assignment agreement, which is one pager. It's literally just a 1-page document between me and Jana that says Jana's going to purchase this house for 207 sorry, not purchase the house, purchase the contract for 207. And at closing, what happens is title pays me directly $7,000. And then Jana has to pay 207 plus all the closing costs. You can negotiate closing costs. Jana and I can negotiate that. But typically the way an assignment does, and so what Jana is actually buying for $7,000, she's not buying the house yet. She is buying the contract. She is saying, I am taking responsibility of that contract. Now, legally, I am supposed to tell Greg that I am selling his house. Title is supposed to tell Greg that I'm selling the contract. Sorry, not the house, just the contract. That never happens. Title companies know this trick. They know the rules, and they do not. The ones that I would go work with if I'm a wholesaler, they don't disclose that. They don't disclose to Jana how much I got under contract for, and they don't disclose to Greg that it actually got sold to another person. Ever. It happens all the time, and no one even knows about it.
I'm out.
Legally though, you're supposed to. Legally, everybody's supposed to know everything. So Greg's supposed to know that I'm selling it. Jana's supposed to know how much I got it for, but that's just not how anybody does it. But legally, just so you guys know, that's exactly how it's supposed to work.
So if it's illegal,
we all know this. I should have prefaced this class by saying, listen, there's a lot in real estate that should be done. That's this is per Trek rules that no one does. Literally, no one does.
As long as nobody says anything.
Exactly. And there's things that you guys violate too, more than likely, that you don't even know, or and just well, that's just not how everybody else does it, so I'm just not gonna do it either. And so in real estate, there's rules, and then there's the enforceable rules. And so really the enforceable rules are the biggest, right? The line, all the big stuff. Those are really they're gonna hammer you for it. But the ones that aren't this type of disclosure stuff, no one's really enforcing that, and no one's complaining.
It's illegal in North Carolina now.
Wholesaling? Okay, there you go.
So they have I'm assuming.
Guarantee it happens all the time.
Here's the right
Yeah, it's no, not on the radar. They will just do it the exact same way. Guarantee no one changes.
They have specific title companies they use.
Yeah.
They're not just gonna go to some random.
Yeah, I mean, I could go to every single big title company that we all use, and I know a closer in each one that knows how to do it.
Well, isn't that why they changed the title company? They insist on using their title company.
Exactly. Yeah. But I know, just so you guys know, every single big title company, I could go and go, hey, I'm gonna sign this contract. It says it in this little special provisions here. I just need you to just go, yep, and it's being assigned, and just breeze right through it in your closing statement. You go with that, and every single big title company will go, yep. They will disclose it, even though it's and this shows that it can be assigned, and then this is your deed of trust, and this is whatever, and it's just a.
So
legally they're saying.
so they are being
They legally they say it, but they don't really say it.
Yeah.
So is Jana a cash buyer too?
Yes, typically. I mean,
Because
I would say
how would the
90.
lender not be able to follow all of that if?
I would say 99% of the time, Jana is a cash buyer. With all that said, I buy assigned properties all the time, and I am never a cash buyer. I'm a full, just normal conventional buyer. And so that's not always the case. Like every single assigned property that I bought, I'm usually on the buying end of this. I'm just a conventional buyer. And because I own the contract. So the seller doesn't need to know anything.
No,
And
the
my,
lender would need to see all the assignments and the.
yeah, the
contemplations.
lender has to see the original
If-
contract.
If they cross it out, the lender's not gonna approve it.
Well, because I'm not buying I'm not buying the original contract price, I'm buying the total contract price.
Right.
So all I know right now is 7,000 and 207. And so all the lender cares about is 207. That's what I need to loan for.
You're an end buyer.
I'm the end buyer. So they go, all right, he's got an assignment here, he's got the original contract. I don't need to know what the original price is because the lender doesn't care. I'm lending on 207.
So it's not an actual assignment contract, then it's just normal 1-4?
No, it's the whatever Greg and me agreed to.
Yeah.
That's the contract they're using. The price is now void.
But in this original contract, you would have an assignment of benefits of some sort noted somewhere in special provisions.
Yes.
We would see, somebody would see
The
that.
lender would see it.
Yeah, the
so-
lender would see it.
Yeah, so in the original contract, this is what I was gonna say, the biggest way you can recognize an assignment is in your 1-4 contract, whenever you get an offer. So when who wants to be Greg's agent? Okay.
Greg's like, I'm not doing it, I'm like.
Don't give anything, Kevin, give me 20
So
bucks.
As Kevin's reviewing Greg's contract as his agent, Kevin is looking for like, man, this is a low offer, and the option option period's longer. It's like 10 to 15 days, and then like they have a finance kit. Okay, if Kevin's smart, he's looking for kind of some of these cues, and in the contract somewhere, it's either going to say in the buyer section. This is typically how it looks: is Greg selling to Jimmy and/or assigns. That's what it will say in the buyer section. Jimmy and/or assigns, or buyer and/or assigns. It'll say that in the buyer section of the 1-4. Really simple, easy to spot. You're like, oh, okay. That allows them, I can buy it or I can assign it.
Mhm.
Or in the special provisions, it will say buyer has the right to assign property. In that will usually be in that little block where it says special provisions, right? It'll say that rule there. Or if they're really sneaky, then they will literally put it in the same print and the same font in the special provision section, or they'll just put another bullet, like it'll be like 10 and then 11, and then they'll put 11 in the same font. They have contracts like that. So if I'm really sneaky, I have my own contract made. It's based off of a 1-4, but it's not really a 1-4 because it has all these modifications in it. And I sent it to Greg. Kevin's reviewing it. He's a brand new agent. Let's just say he's not. And he's reviewing it. He's like, man, typical 1-4. And so in his brain, the way he's going through that contract, right? He's just hitting the main spots, purchase price, option period, option money, termination, closing date. You hit your 12 boxes that you're used to checking, skips right over assignment part, skips right over these new bullet points that have all these other special provisions and just misses it completely. Most agents will miss it. I'm just telling you, if it's not like in bold. So a special way to do it is just in that special provision section, just read that entire section, look for the and/or assigns in the buyer, or look like in the special provisions box. Typically, they will say that, all that will have that set. If they're a big wholesale company, they're gonna let you know. Like if it's in the New Western, I'm gonna use New Western as they're a big wholesale company. They don't want to try to play games. They're a big company. They don't want to get sued. They do it pretty much by the book. And they're like and/or assigns. They have a separate contract with the 1-4 that says, I'm going to assign your property, your purchase price or your value might not be market value. You sign your life away basically.
I don't understand why people do. If they're selling it so low under.
Well,
market value.
I'll get to that here in a second of why you would use them. Because there's a lot of good ways
But
to use
answer on why would Greg care?
it. If I'm assigning it,
Why does Greg and Kevin care that you're gonna sign it if that is something they agree with that purchase price? Because theoretically Kevin could have got more money.
yeah. So like,
That's
I think if
it.
you agree with the price, you don't care.
A lot of,
But it's
not
gonna
a
be
wholesale-
well under market
Market
value.
value.
but the
So you
big
should
reason as an agent that you might add some hesitance on why you wouldn't want to is, what if Jimmy can't come up with the
That's
buy?
what I was
Then he
saying.
backs after in the option.
Yeah.
That is the main reason, is because most wholesale deals don't go through.
Right.
The majority. So anybody can go, like what new wholesalers do, and there's like a million books on this, like ebooks or whatever, is they'll go out and they'll go look at MLS, they'll take a percentage and they will get an AI bot to write 10 offers a day, 50 offers a day. Literally, I used to do 10 offers a day. Would send them out and it would be a percentage under market value. And then you would get it under contract. You'd immediately send it out to all your investment groups all over the nation and hope for the best. And you got 7 days to sell it or 10 days to sell it. And 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 don't go through. And you do it again the next day. And that's what you're doing. It's just a numbers game. So the chances of Greg's deal going through is like very, very low, especially for New Western. They buy it at very high and then they only try to make 7, so their margins aren't good. So
But the wholesaler's losing the option money every time. They do.
yeah, but it's usually like $100. But you know,
They can make a
yeah,
couple deals it's worth it.
yeah. That's another little telltale sign is option will be less than $100. It's usually like $50, $25, something like that.
What if option's only like 5? Then is it
$5?
no 5 days? Sorry, option period 5 days. Then it is a little less risky for the seller.
Yeah, but under 5 days.
I've
Yeah.
never seen 5 days.
I'm just gonna tell you this right now. Wholesalers don't care. Like if New Western, they care. They're not gonna go past the option period. But most wholesalers don't care because they're probably gonna get you to sign a financing addendum. And so guess what? They can't perform.
Yeah.
They never could perform. They don't really care. And so they'll stretch it to that 25, 27, 21 days. They don't care. They know now they got 21 days to do it. And then whenever you go and go, hey, I can't perform. And I go, Greg, hey man, I can't perform financially. I just got to cancel the contract. Kevin's going to be all pissed off and be like, well, we're going to sue you for non-performance, whatever. And those are like, okay, like, go ahead. I can prove, I got, $10,000 in my bank and that's it. So, and they're like, well, did you even try? Yeah. And they'll call a lender friend. Like, yeah, I tried. Can't get financing. And they don't care. You care less and you can't do anything about it. I mean, you could go through the lawsuit, but no one does.
I thought you said that most of the wholesalers are all cash, so why would the third party kick in?
Because they want an extra time to.
Oh, yeah.
So they're gonna represent like they're being financed?
Yeah.
On the offer?
No, they'll say cash because it'll be
They don't
sexy,
have
and then they'll
cash
put a financing addendum, or they'll like.
And then
they
they'll have I've seen these on I guess I have seen these on other types of buyers where they put their proof of funds attached in a letter from a bank. And
then they'll be like, oh, I can't perform, and then they'll be like, you can sue me, I guess, and then no one sues them because no one's gonna hold their feet to the fire for usually a crappy house. You're not buying $1 million homes with like lawyers and doctors. You're buying distressed properties, right? And so you can see how like ugly this gets really quickly. What's that?
Daisy chain.
Yeah, it gets very sticky very, very quick.
So you don't, as a wholesaler, you don't have a real estate license. Some do,
Yeah,
right?
I would say most do, but they don't tell anyone that.
Well, because I came across one before with a home, I was putting a home on the market in Colleyville, and somebody had stopped by, they looked him up on the records or whatever, and figured out because he had gotten divorced and they, I guess, was going after him knowing that he's probably going to sell his house.
Yeah.
Well, it was an assignment, but the guy also wanted to put his for sale sign out front of his house. So
Mhm.
can you do that too? Like
Mhm.
You do whatever you want, Mr. Property.
Yeah.
As the contract, as the person's under contract, they can go put their sign in there too, even though.
Yeah, you
the other
can, because you
people's
can,
sign is
you, as
there.
long as you have the and or the signs, you're in a contract, you can do it. So,
yeah, okay.
I know, it's like, I can't believe someone did that. That's pretty
bold.
Literally, but he did, and I was like, no.
That's pretty bold,
Sign
yeah.
it.
He's like, hey, I ripped you off. I'm gonna make money off of you. Yeah, in your financial situation, yeah. Yeah, that's just very, okay. Let's see, okay, that's how an assignment works. Assignment, this is also a key point of assignment. If you're a wholesaler, assignment is definitely the way you want to go, because there's only one closing closing costs during the whole assignment. So whenever I bought it from Greg and then I was selling it to Jana, Jana is incurring one closing cost. That's it. Because we're closing, the property's going straight from Greg to Jana at title. So at title, I'm not in part of the contract negotiations, the lending. I'm not part of anything. I'm just this guy over here that has a little side contract on the side. I'm getting paid my 7K and I'm out. And what's great about it is title's paying me. So I know I'm getting paid. I don't care what kind of mess they deal with. Greg's going to call me and be like, well, or Jan's going to call me and go, well, Greg was, the house is falling apart and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, okay, no, I don't care. You signed the assignment contract. You said it was as is. Good luck. Take it up with Greg. Greg might be pissed off at Jana and vote up. I'm like, I don't care. I made my 7K. I am moving on.
When the assignment happens, that when you mentioned the 1-page assignment, Jana decides, yep, I'm gonna buy the contract. When does Greg know?
He doesn't.
So
Well,
he never knows?
He should know. He
You
should know.
that it could be done.
it could be done.
But how do we know Jana exists?
Yes,
It-
how do
it
you
will be
know
at closing.
Oh,
That's
so
the only
before,
time.
if any hot mess
And the title
happens.
says this is,
Yeah.
this was assigned.
Yep.
So if that you guys, you're the agent, you're talking to and saying, hey, we have a problem. He goes, I don't care. Well, why don't you care? Well, because Jana exists. How do you
Yeah.
get Jana's contact information?
That's, yeah.
I wouldn't tell you that Jana exists yet.
Yeah, the realtor's not gonna know.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell you that Jana. I would just say, yeah, we're expected to close. Yeah, I'm expected to close.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what
we're good to
happened.
go. We're good to
Okay.
go. We're good to go.
Okay.
And I wouldn't tell you
I knew it
anything
was
about Jana.
assigned. I mean, my seller was very transparent.
But-
He was going for a wholesaler to get
Yeah.
part of his down payment.
Yeah.
But I was in contact with this wholesaler. He gave the contact information to me.
Yeah.
And it was the exact same answer all the time.
Good
Because
to
I
close.
wanted to make sure we
Good
were
to
gonna close. And he was like, oh yeah, we're gonna da 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 da. I'm like, who are we selling to? What are you doing? No information. Zero.
Normally, in this scenario, as Jenna being the buyer, she knows everything. Like she understands the process. She knows.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, whoever the end buyer is.
End buyer knows it all because
Yeah,
they
she's not
they
gonna
know.
just be some buyer off the street. It's an investor that doesn't want to do the work and finding these properties. They just want to use the network of wholesalers to find them for them and
That's
then
right.
pay the fee to make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Quick note though, as a buying agent, if you have an investor that you're like, one of the biggest pain clients is investor clients. One, they don't know what the heck they're doing because they've probably only done one investment and it's been like they bought it and they've remodeled it themselves. It took them 3 years and they sold it and they made like $50,000 and they're like, I'm an amazing investor. They're not. They're not because they can't find them regularly. So you have those clients. They're the biggest pain to work with, in my opinion, because they're just, unless they're a savvy investor that buys all the time. And they're like, hey, agent, I need you to go find them. Well, guess what? No one here knows how to do that either. That's really hard and it takes a lot of work and even more training to do it right and do it well. So one way that you can use wholesalers is literally go sign up for their list, their network, and have them find the properties. And then, you know what's great about wholesalers? Like they're slimy, right? Most of the time. Well, use their sliminess against them. What I always do is like, if I have a buyer that I'm like, great, I'm going to send you this list of properties that I get from an exclusive network of off the market properties. They're going to show you the price. And if you think that's in your price range, similar to like, we use like search engines and stuff like that, you send them their properties, right? Use the wholesaler list to do the same thing. Send it to them. And then you call the wholesaler and go, hey, I'm representing this person. So I want my 3% baked in, or whatever. And I need you to, the closing is supposed to be 20 days from now. I need you to make it 30 and we're going to go get conventional financing and we're going to make it happen. And they'll work with you on it. Like, especially if it's a hard property for them to sell, you'll get some smoking deals for your clients and you can use conventional lending to close on a wholesale property. You can do that. It's got to be an assignment. It doesn't want it, or sometimes they'll do a double close with you. I'll get to what that is here in a second. If you know them well. But if you get to know a wholesaler, it can be useful because they can do all the work for you. So it can work. I've seen
Okay,
it
so
work.
who is the person that's constantly texting me?
Right, that's what I was about to ask.
27 of these a week that says, hey, and they act like they're your best friend.
Uh-huh.
I know you're
Checking
busy.
to see off-market
Just
deals. Checking to see if you have any off-market properties
Those are buyers. So those are wholesale buyers. So they're looking for the ones to assign.
Right.
The ones you want are the sellers. They've already found them. It's usually two different groups. In big companies, they have buyers that go out and they're your best friends. And then you have the sellers. And the ones that are sellers, the buyers give those the properties and now they're trying to sell them. That's who you want to work with if you're representing a buyer, right? So if you're representing a buyer and you're like, and then you have that investor client, one, don't spend a lot of time on them. There's way too much work. Go find another buyer that just wants to buy a house. That's my first advice. One, don't work with them. Two, if you want to work with them because they're like got a lot of money and they're going to buy a house for sure, then use the wholesaling group to your advantage. Go find a seller or sign up for their newsletters. Hey, what's up, brother? And use their work for your advantage. You be like, look, here's 10 off the market properties. I don't know if this fits your criteria. And if you do, if you find someone you like, then you call the wholesaler and go, hey, I got a buyer. He wants to buy this property. It's going to be conventional loan. I know you want cash, whatever, but they'll close it in 25 days or 30 days, and can you make it happen? And they'll try to work with you, especially if it's at their asking price. They will definitely try to work with you. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on assignments? Very quick.
She doesn't want it.
What's that?
I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you why you would.
No,
There's a
I
few,
know.
but the second way wholesalers work is called a double close. And I'm already past our time, but I'm just gonna work through them. Double close. Okay, a double close is where we use the same scenario. I get the house under contract with Greg, and I know it's a smoking deal as a wholesaler. I'm going with Jana, and for whatever reason, Jana is so I get the house instead of 200 from Greg, I get it for 150.
Nice.
Now, I don't want to disclose to Jana, I'm about to sell it to her for 220. And I'm about to make $70,000 on this thing. So I'm like, oof, man, if I tell Jana I'm making 70 on this, she's not going to buy it. Just out of principle. They're like, dang, dude, you're either ripping him off, ripping me off, or something, and I don't want it. So they're like, dang. So the wholesaler's like, ugh, I know the end buyer is going to want to know how much I'm making. They're going to know that because you have to fill out assignment. So they're going to know that. So I don't want Jan to know that. So how am I going to actually do this? Well, I'm going to do a double close. What that means is I'm going to buy Greg's house outright, all together, fund it. Legally how this should work is I buy this house on Friday morning. I bring the money cash to title. It closes. Title transfers to me, and then I close it with Jana the same day. And then Jana funds it to me. Jana doesn't have to know anything about the contract I have with Greg. Doesn't have to know anything about it. We have a separate 1-to-4 contract between us. In our 1-to-4 contract, one thing I am going to do is tell her that it is a double close, and then two, I'm going to make sure she gets all of my closing costs because I'm slimy, because I just don't want to pay it. And so she gets paid double. She pays double close. So the main reason you do a double close is one, for that, or two, if you have a lot of title issues that need to be cleaned up in this and you don't want to tell Jan about. So I got a bunch of title issues that are coming up. And I'm like, man, this is just I don't want to notify any of my end buyers about this. They'll freak out. So I'm just going to close it, clean up all the title work at closing, and then I'm going to sell it to them. They also, a double close is whenever you might call a wholesale. It's whenever you buy a property outright and you just need to buy it outright, clean up the title, maybe clean it up, and then sell it for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more in 30 days.
What did you call that?
A wholesale. Wholesale, like wholesale, but they call it wholesale.
Wholesale and retail.
Yeah, it's like you're just basically holding it for just a little bit, and so it's on the tail end of the whole.
Tail.
No, it's whole. Wholesale. It's a hotel. Yeah, and so
That's really what it is. I'm not gonna tell you anything. Hotel.
Yeah. So what actually happens though? So that's what I said. That's what should happen. What actually happens is I go to a title company that specializes in double closing, and I'm like, hey man, I don't have the money to fund this, and I'm just gonna we're gonna say we close, and they're like, yeah, sure, and they just transfer money in and out of the account within an hour, and then they're like, pretty close, and it's like, yeah. And that's just how it
That part
goes.
sounds
That's how it works.
Yeah.
And then, so
The
that,
rest of it.
It's so crooked.
it's,
I'm just gonna
So,
refer
so
to
we,
Kevin.
so we don't,
It's gonna be for all things.
so, yeah,
I'll take 25%.
we don't do property management.
Keep my name off the contract.
Yeah, but you actually.
I'm just gonna be in the back.
You would actually never get paid. Oh.
yeah,
I'll find where you live.
okay, let me just make sure.
But-
This is actually really fun.
One thing again,
It's so fun to watch.
on this double close, if,
Yeah.
the other thing that they don't have to tell you is they don't have to tell the seller that there's assignment anywhere. You will never, ever know
That they're selling it,
that
right?
they're selling it. Yeah, you'll never know because they don't
Well,
legally have to
because
tell you.
there's no assignment, you're
Yeah.
buying it
I'm
outright.
buying it outright. There's no assignments.
And,
So,
and why would they care?
yeah, and then guess what happens? The double,
Because she's so,
if
the only reason
they're,
why they care is because they're
if
selling.
they're double closing with you, the chances of them screwing you at day 21, 25, 27, whatever it is so high. Because this is where they're like, I don't have to tell you I'm going to sign it. I'm going to double close. Two, I don't have any finances. So they always do like some sort of financing contingency. So now they're like, I'm just a regular conventional buyer. I'm putting 30% down. Let's just make up whatever. And as long as they have a financing contingency, they got 21 days to sell this thing. And they're trying to find that person to double close. And
So what do
so,
they have, a fake pre-approval or?
yeah, You-
Because you can ask for
you-
proof of funds for the down payment, you can ask for.
you can do, I mean,
pre-approval.
the reality is like,
Yeah.
the reality is like, I mean, you can get around anything. If an agent asks me for any document, I can call, if you've done this before, I can call pretty much anybody and get whatever I need. So even if I don't have it, they're just like, oh yeah, I know you. Here you go. They'll send me a pre-approval for 500,000, like tomorrow, $1 million. I need $1 million. Well, like they know I don't have $1 million. They know I can afford that, but they know I'm going to get it done, and they know I'm going to make it happen. So they just like, yeah, sure.
Or more likely is that you can afford to purchase the house, but your buddy sends you a disqualification letter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's more likely.
Yeah, that's what happens is you could afford the
Oh,
house,
yeah.
you could qualify, and you're like, oh, I'm not backing out, and then you just call your bank and you go, hey, I need proof of not being able to fund this thing. They send you that letter, they send it to the realtor. Now, you as a realtor, like, sorry, seller, can't do anything about this. They just screwed us. And it's just like any other deal that went bad. So pretty crazy. Okay, third way is a subject to contract. These are typically cleaner. There's no like shadiness about these. These are pretty upfront. This is basically me inheriting someone else's loan. So Greg has a house for sale. It's $1,000 a month, his mortgage, and I'm saying, Greg, I want to purchase your house for $200,000, but I want to continue paying your same mortgage rate. So, and usually on these, they'll have a balloon note, like I'm going to refinance within a certain amount, a 5-year, 10-year, something like that. Sometimes they'll do 20-year, but the benefit to Greg is he can't pay his mortgage, and so I'm inheriting his mortgage. And then I will refinance at this high purchase price somehow. In 5 to 10 years, that's up to me to figure it out.
Is that over finance?
No, it's a subject to, it essentially is, but the way they look at it is Greg is still responsible for all of the bank note. So banks do not like this.
I was gonna say.
If they know about it, then they call the note, typically. They want to. I've never had a bank call the note because 1, they don't know about it, and then 2, they don't really even care as long as the mortgage is getting paid. But as soon as the mortgage is not being paid, they'll
So then if you
call
don't
the
pay,
note.
it's on me
Yeah,
still.
so
Yeah,
like if you get a subject to contract, I'll just leave it at this. Call me. 99.9% of the time, it's not a good deal. Just throwing it out there. If you get one of those, call me. There's so many different questions I have. Like, just call me on this one. Just trust me. It's very complicated. We don't have time to go into it today. But that's the third way of doing it.
why does that happen on, like, my Hazel property that I just closed on with it was a VA assumable and that was smooth.
Yeah.
But I literally got a subject to offer every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got at least 50.
What was your interest rate on it? On the loan?
It was 2.89.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anything that's under 5 right now, this is what happens. Okay, so I'm going to tell you anyway. So what happens is is I get that note like in my possession, and then I owner finance it to someone else at like 12%. That's what happens. In order to pull that off, it's very complicated, and you need a lending person to work that magic, and a title company to work that magic, called wraparound loan. Anyways, whole different thing. That's a complicated one, but it's a really good way to make money. So people just grab these loans, just these notes. They're like, man, I'm going to get this like 20 notes, and I'm going to do wraparound loans, and I'm going to now make 10% on my money, like right away. And they don't have any risk.
Question. If you've got a property and it's really hard to sell, been on the market 90 days, approaching 120, getting ready to lose it, would you want to try to do a subject to if they've got a low interest rate? There's no scenario out there.
I don't see any scenario where it's beneficial to the seller ever.
Even if they do like a big balloon payment and they get what they want and this guy's taking over
Yeah,
the loan, you can't put a clause in there that says if you don't make the payments, I get it back, like an owner finance?
You can. It won't work that way. It's not that easy. You have to go through. You have to basically foreclose, which is usually anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 process, just in general. So again, that's why you just call me for a subject to. There's like 5 different other ways to do it. That's 10 times better.
Okay.
Like you can to protect your seller. So that to me is really honestly never an option. I would never ever put it as an option. Like there's just so many other different scenarios that you could run down that could save your seller than that. Wholesaling, I would call a wholesaler 5 times before I call the subject to.
Okay.
So a wholesaler. So when would you use a wholesaler? One, you have a person that's like failing on their mortgage. They're about to maybe, be foreclosed on. They're getting the letters, that type of thing. They're about to go through a messy divorce. Someone dies, that type of thing. Jana, your scenario is like perfect. Hey, I'm out of town. My mom died. I just need to sell this thing and get rid of it. I don't really care about getting the max value. I just need to get rid of it quickly because I want to use that money to do this. Great. I can get you a wholesale price on it. You call directly to a wholesaler and they will give you they're like a new Western. They give you the max they're willing to do. They're not trying to lowball you. They're just like, I want to make $7,000. So if that house they can sell for $210, they're going to offer you maybe $190 at first and just go, hey, can you do anything a little bit better? And they'll bump it up $195 up to $200, and they'll give you that. And they'll really try to do it. And they'll put a 7-10 day option. If they can't sell it, then great, you move on to the next wholesaler.
New Western will ask you, how much do you want?
Yep.
Don't answer. How much will you give me?
Unless you know what you're talking about. I tell them this is exactly what I want. But yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it's hard to know value if it's really distressed.
It is.
Right.
So that to me is a scenario that's worth it. The other scenario is if you just have a crappy property, it's like, God, man, this needs a lot of repairs, but I don't know how to really value this. So you're having a hard time just getting a normal valuation for your listing. I don't know what to tell them. I think it'll sell for this. Call a wholesaler. Just call a wholesaler. Tell them like, hey man, I got this client about to list this property. I want to give them a price. Maybe they can just sell to you before we even go to market. They'll give you a price and just bump it up $10,000, $15,000, and there you go. Like that's a really good way to find a really accurate, because there's just throwing this out there. If you're talking about a person that is good at evaluating how much properties are worth, wholesalers, they're better than all of us. Like, trust me, that's all they do all day long, every part of the Metroplex. They just value properties, and they are really, really, really good at it. And so if you're looking for like where to put your price at, just call them. Guarantee you they will answer, they will call you back, and they'll give you a price.
They haven't been good lately. They're overpricing a lot of houses.
Well, yeah, well, that's great for you as a list to win a listing. Like you go, hey, this wholesaler,
Not as a buyer.
they want to, yeah, not as a buyer. Yeah, if you're looking for investment, do not go to them. If they don't have any money to repair their home at all, need to sell quickly, like we were talking about Jana's. And then lastly, if you have the investor type of buyer, you being able to like, as long as you're the liaison between the wholesaling contact and your buyer, you're going to get paid. And that wholesaler wants you to get paid because he wants you to bring every single person to him. So find a seller, a wholesaler, and if you have that investment buyer, use them. That's the only time I would really use them. If you're looking to buy an investment property, do not use New Western.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, to me, would be the worst place to buy. But there's a lot of independent wholesalers that would be way better to buy from.
Do they keep a lot of theirs Fidelity and do rentals, or do they?
No,
No.
They sell almost all of them. So, okay, I'm gonna wrap it up because we're like 15 minutes over. Sorry, guys, you guys need to leave online. Go ahead. If you want to stay and ask any questions here. So, but we're gonna wrap it up just for everybody to leave if you need to.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's
Great information.
very, very interesting. We might do a part 2 next time or something. I don't know.
You didn't go over this, but so you know how we talked about the double close where it's like a share, he buys it from this guy.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Right, he does one close, and then does a second close with you.
I think you
Well,
can use that more than.
So let's say that Jimmy can't, let's say he has a hard time, he has his contract, but then he can't get the sold, right? He can't find a buyer. So he might take this contract, he'll sign it with New Western and say, hey, New Western, can you help me go sell it so our buyer pool is bigger? I know we get what we want, but I'll only make 3,000 instead of 7. And y'all can make, 5 or whatever it is. Well, New Western can go sign it. Somebody else, you can or double close. It can be a triple close, and then the buyer pays 3 closes. It can be multiple closes all back to.
Oh, which one?
I don't want to represent that.
It's really not. None of this is really that difficult. Like to get.
I guess maybe if, I'm gonna be sending you an email.